peeps, Amma here. If you're new, welcome to the channel. On this channel, we engage in thought-provoking conversations for unity and change. If you'd like to be part of this movement for change, hit that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Unemployment is one of the many social challenges which many countries are facing, both developed and developing countries. The COVID-19 pandemic has made this challenge worse, where many companies have been closing down and many people losing their jobs. With me in studio is Evidence James, who is a master's student at the University of Cape Town, as well as an author and a masterclass scholar. Thank you so much, James, for joining me once again in studio. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Amma, for having me, and it's a pleasure.
What challenges do you think graduates are currently facing in this era?
Oh, thank you. This is quite an interesting conversation because I'm also a graduate.
Yeah.
So this really hits home. It comes home. I find applicability, to myself.
Yeah.
So if we look at this era, I think the two phenomena that define this era. One is the fourth industrial revolution, and two is the COVID-19 pandemic. And what these two phenomena have done is to change the dynamics in the labor market, such that it has become more and more difficult for new graduates to be absorbed into the labor market. And so now you're having a piling up of graduates. So this year you've got new graduates, the following year you've got new graduates, but those who graduated the previous year are not employed. So now you've got a pile up because the industry is not absorbing more people.
Yeah.
But how is this happening? Let's start with the fourth industrial revolution. So the 4I era is underway right now. We see it if you go to Pick and Pay, you see there are self-service tills there. You go to Dibonairs, you find those self-service machines there. Time Bank, Time Bank is here, and causing problems in the banking sector. So if you look at those, that is basically 4I era.
So people are being replaced by the digital...
By those machines, be it robots or be it digitalization. What's happening in the banking sector, where Standard Bank has to find itself in a situation where they had to close about 90 branches, right? Yeah, in 2019, they had to close around 90 branches for them to stay competitive, because of new companies that are more digitally oriented.
To remain relevant, in other words.
So not only being relevant, but also to be competitive. Because banks like Time Bank, they do not have so much costs because they don't have these branches. They only have this, it's a self-service, more like an ATM. You get to open your bank card. You open your account there, bank account.
Everything
you get
is instant.
Everything happens there, and it's installed in Pick and Pay. So there are no really costs that are associated with that. So what 4I era has done, or what it's actually doing, is to replace manual labor, right, with machines and things like software, artificial intelligence, right, and that means more people are losing jobs and less people are being employed. As years goes by.
Unemployment in both ways.
Yes, people are losing jobs, and those new graduates are not being employed, because of that. So that is fourth industrial revolution. It's underway, but it has been worsened. The situation has been worsened by COVID-19. Because what COVID has done, it has given a justification for some businesses that were finding it hard to adjust to fourth industrial revolution, right? You see, if you remember very well, Standard Bank was, they were grappling. They were basically struggling to find the justification
to retrench people.
Yeah, because even when they closed those branches, they got a backlash, right, from the public.
Like
why are you closing so many branches, and why are you willing to have a lot of people lose their jobs, right? And there's been even a scheduled strike in the banking sector, right, last year. But now, after COVID-19, when COVID-19 happened, because of the need to reduce contact, human contact, it was so easy for many institutions to immediately, find an incentive to migrate to digital platforms, because they're saying, look, you can't come to our banks, you can't come to the branch, but we can save you digitally, right? So I'm sure some people found it easier then, and it would make sense that we shouldn't go to the bank because there's COVID, right? So they would have to download the app whether or not they, want. It's the only way to access the bank.
So in a way that allowed the bank to have an excuse to retrench people.
And to actually migrate
to the
digital platforms. Yes, and that is not going to be reversed after COVID, It's not going to happen.
It's going on.
Yes, so it's a trend that is actually the step that has been taken. So yes, so COVID, I think you have mentioned something earlier on. So yes, COVID is assisted to a certain extent the advancement of fourth industrial revolution, or rather the speed of fourth industrial revolution in certain sectors. But another thing that COVID has done is to choke, companies, right? You mentioned earlier on that, companies are closing down. Yes, companies are closing down, and a lot of people have been losing jobs since March, right? If I can just give you an example, Edcon, the Edgar's group, right? So COVID contributed to a certain extent, and fourth industrial revolution also contributed to a certain extent, right? Because they are now online the online shopping, which is a bit cheaper and things like that. So they were also losing market in a way. But when COVID stepped in, there was another thing altogether, and they served, retrenchment notices, like 20,000 employees, and that was like a huge number. And at the same time, SABC, I'm sure they were talking about, they were intending, or they served notices to about like 6,000 employees. So if you go and check the statistics of how many people, I can tell you millions of people have lost jobs since March.
Absolutely.
Right? Because of COVID, where businesses are struggling to cope under these circumstances. And as a result of this fourth industrial revolution and the COVID-19, companies are not opening their doors to new graduates. And I'm sure that is because of the fear of, there is so much uncertainty as to whether they will be able to sustain, these new employees and these new graduates. So it's a difficulty that we are facing. You find yourself applying, you submit 15, 20 applications without a response. So it's really an unprecedented situation, and many people are stressed out. It's really difficult, I can tell you that. It's really difficult, and there isn't much optimism as to whether one is actually going to find a job.
How can we mitigate this challenge of unemployment? Is there a way of going about it?
Yeah, certainly there is. I think what this era has done is to create a sense of agency, right? So they say necessity is a mother of invention, right? Necessity is a mother of invention. When there's a lack, you tend to find alternatives. And I think what this era has done is it has changed, you know, our way of thinking. You know, it is changing our way of thinking and attitude towards employment. Like, what is employment in a way? Because you see young businesses, you see, now you can actually see many startups coming up, and this is not a result of just you know, mere creativity. And it's people who are finding alternative means of earning income, you know, because of that impossibility of securing a job, right? So certainly entrepreneurship is a way to go.
So entrepreneurship is the new perspective of unemployment.
Yeah, it can be the new employment. You can look at it as the new employment. Yes.
So how can we? So let's say, okay, hold on. But I think it's quite interesting how you're bringing in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because in the near future, we'll be interviewing young entrepreneurs just to find out from them their journey as entrepreneurs. So I think that will be really interesting to see how entrepreneurship can contribute to solving the issue of unemployment.
Yes.
But for now, let's say one is considering entrepreneurship as the new employment.
Yes.
How can what challenges can one expect to see, and how can they overcome these challenges?
Yeah, no, thank you. So, you know, business is it's not every person is, you know, as an entrepreneur, right? But again, some people actually don't know if they're entrepreneurs or not because they haven't stepped out. So I really think there are few hindrances or rather barriers that one might need to, you know, to maneuver and to deal with. And one is, you know, the issue of capital, right? The issue of capital. So if you are unemployed and you are finding it difficult to secure a job, as a graduate, probably you've got a student loan, right? It's virtually impossible for you to find a bank that is willing to give you a startup capital.
Yeah.
So immediately you've got a challenge there. Immediately you've got a challenge of finding capital. So it's either government is stepping in to assist young people, right, who are starting up, right. Let's put that option aside. Let's put that option aside. How can graduates deal with the problem of, you know, finding it difficult to secure, you know, capital for startups? Because you don't have, you know, collateral security. You don't have anything. You're just broke.
Yeah, true.
Right? You're only starting out. Zero balance. You know, zero bank balance. So I would say, rather, let someone start very small.
Okay.
To start small.
Yeah.
Because I think in certain instances we might be, you know, tempted to think that entrepreneurship has to be about big gigs.
Yeah.
You should have trucks. You must have this big building.
And then that can kind of like set us back, right?
Yeah, it will set you back because in a way, when you want to draft the budget, you're thinking, so I need $1 million.
Yeah.
And yet, we don't even need $1 million. I can give you an example, right? So back home in Zim, I've got my younger brothers. We're doing a small business. It's not even something so huge. You know, I can tell you that startup capital that we used for that business of buying and selling potatoes. So you buy potatoes from farms, you buy directly from the farms, and you're getting a profit of $1 per pocket, right? A 15 kg pocket. And you know, in a day you can sell 20, 30 pockets, right? it's not a lot of money that we used to start up that business.
Yeah,
it was like 150 US.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, 150 US is less than like 3,000, right? But that is generating more than 500 rands per day. It's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a lot
then,
of money. But when you grow that capital,
it
so you reinvest, you know, so you reinvest. So starting small is very, very important.
While you're on this, the business that you've just started with your brother back home, I would like to know, did you guys draft a business plan?
Yeah, so not the business plan in detail as one would do, but certainly we sit down, had a business strategy,
just
a very simplified one.
Yeah, because why I'm bringing this up, because I know a lot of people that they are thinking of starting up businesses, but they have this fear that they need to now have a formal business plan, and they need to, and so that just sets them back, because now they're thinking of all the logistics and how it's so scary, they have to use terminologies, they have, so I think it's also about how starting up should be, really, that it doesn't have to be,
and sometimes you actually don't have to go formal right away. We are not even doing it formal, it's informal, right? So it's informal, you do not have all these administrative burdens, you know, because you have got those places where you can do informal businesses without anyone bothering you, right? Because you are really small, and the authorities really are not after people who are still that very small. So later on, as you grow, you can start formalizing, and you know, that's when you can start thinking about budgets, tax. And,
so it's about starting.
It's about starting.
Once you start
small.
It goes.
Start small. So then I would advise, you know, there are those people who are doing in their second years, third years, right, university, and who are also on bursaries. I would urge them, earnestly urge them, to save up. Don't blow it. Don't blow it. Save up. At least by the end, you know, of their 4-year degree or 3-year degree, at least someone should have 15,000 capital.
Because those bursaries give really good stipends.
Yes, you know, so 10,000, 10,50. So that moment when you are tempted to buy 2 pizzas in a day, just buy one, you know.
No, don't even buy.
No, you need 2 pizza once in a while.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so you save up, you know, on one. So what I actually do right now, I also find satisfaction because I open the savings account. So when I feel like I want to buy pizza or I want to buy the second one, I feel like, no, I'm not going to buy. What am I going to do with this 50 rand? Immediately I get my phone, I transfer it to my savings account, it gets locked up. I get the same satisfaction in doing that, because I feel like, oh no, this is an investment, you know. So I get the same satisfaction of buying a pizza from saving the money that I should have. You know. So now I'm, you know, building up some capital from there. So that is one, starting small, save up, you know, to those who are about to exit, you know, to become new graduates, to join us out here when we are hustling to find something. So the second one is, here's the thing, when one is thinking of business, it doesn't mean you have to go it alone. That's another thing, right? Connect with like-minded, you know, graduates. Sit down, share ideas, and say, guys,
two hands are better than one. 2 hands are better than one.
Yes, and we've got different skills, right? We've got different skill sets. Some people are good at, you know, marketing because they're people's persons, and then some people are good with financial planning, you know, and then finances. Some people are actually good at, you know, organization, you know,
and all those skills are necessary.
They're necessary for running whatever business, right? So it's very crucial. I think one of the biggest assets that any graduate would have when they're exiting university is to have a network of like-minded individuals who share, the same aspiration and the same vision.
Yeah.
So that when they go out there, they're not immediately after job hunting, but when they're doing that, they must be working on something else, on projects and things like that. And if people continue talking, in their second year, third year, talking about these things, we can actually see and say, guys, this is a partnership that we want, and can we save up? Can we save this much? And when you combine that amount, by the time you become graduates, you've got a reasonable, probably 30K.
Okay, so
partnerships.
James, I really just want to understand. So what you're saying is that people need to start having entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes.
So people need to stop going to school, going to tertiary with the mentality of being employed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly. And I feel the educational system, it has got that element of mass producing employees, which is very wrong. I think it's something that we need to rectify. Entrepreneurial education is very, very important.
Yeah.
We need that. And I mean, this is no longer an era where you can actually wholly depend on a job.
Well, we don't even have enough companies to employ everybody.
Yes. So what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You can't say you're gonna die unemployed.
Yeah.
So you can actually self-employ.
And you self-employ and then you employ other people, and so you're contributing to the creation of jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was another thing, and I think there is a point that you mentioned in passing, right? Because here's the thing: we said start small, we said partnerships, but there's one. This challenge is about stepping out, right? So many people would have brilliant ideas, but they do not want to step out. They tend to overthink, so much fears, I'm gonna fail, or I don't really know this. But here's the thing, if you look around, I've been looking at the history of Coca-Cola, how it just began. I think I would urge someone to actually go and watch the documentary of how Coca-Cola developed. It was a medicine at the beginning. It was never meant to be a drink, So it was all like try and error.
Yeah.
Try and error. And they became expert. And right now it's one of the biggest
in the world.
A beverages company in the world.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's more like, it was like a coincidence how that became a dream. So yes, we need to start out. We need to learn while it's doing it, right? I mean, one has to allow themselves to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I've been in the informal sector. I've been a building contract. I just had to do it, right? Yeah. You give me a job, I've got the basics. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna figure it out. I take the challenge. I find a solution to it. So people need to step up.
Yeah.
People need to step up.
Well, okay. Wow. that was a mouthful. I'm still trying to digest that. Yeah. But yeah, we need that because we can't afford to have people unemployed and it's not good for the economy as well.
We can't. I can tell you this, Amma. Whoever someone is listening and saying, but look, what kind of business can I do? What kind of business can I do? These big companies, they're already occupying, the retail sector. Look at this. You've got companies that are roasting maize, dried maize. They roast it, they spice it. You don't need a factory to roast maize. You just have to roast it properly, and get spices are everywhere. You can do that. If you check how much that is, like less than 500 grams of roasted maize, it's costing 35 rands, 40 rands. And you're thinking, oh, what happened here? You don't need any expertise about the roasting. You can do it in your own kitchen there. You're not paying any rent for any premises. You're not paying any big machine. The same, cutlery that you use in your kitchen, you can do the same thing, right? That's one, right? That's just one. Get into the business of buying and selling fruits and veggies. It's another thing, right? So it's just a matter of knowing what farmer is selling what. You get contacts with farmers. They tell you that now we are harvesting, and right? You supply, be it supermarket. You approach them and say, this is what I'm supplying at a very good price, and you're professional, right? If you can't have that, why not have you can distribute. You're having a lot of Somalians. If you look at Somalians, they've got these delivery vans. They're dropping veggies and in the location. You can actually do that. And establish a very good chain. Work with Bomama who are selling. Who've got those tables. You supply them. The vendors. You supply them. Instead of them going to look for these products, you go do that and you drop it to them. They say you have an agreement with them and you establish some kind of a system.
There's always something to do.
There is always something to do. Right? There's always something to do. Packaging business, there's always something to do.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much. It's always nice to talk about this conversation, and I really appreciate your time to engage in this thought-provoking conversations. And thank you once again for being on the show with me.
No, thank you, Amma, for the platform. It's always a pleasure, to have such kind of a platform. Where we can actually share. It does not help really, many times when you're just having these thoughts in private. You really want to share these things, and it would be so beautiful to hear from the audience what they think about this and how we can actually solve the challenge of unemployment. I'm sure they will comment on the video, and they can agree, disagree on how we are seeing these challenges on this analysis, and probably even advise what businesses to do, what strategies to adopt, and that will actually go a long way in helping graduates like us. We're still looking for jobs.
So there you have it, guys. If you have any thoughts, if you have any suggestions about this conversation about solving unemployment and the way forward on this issue, please leave a comment below, and see you all again next week Saturday. Take care and bye.